Welcome. So we're going to be talking about two major challenges that we have seen through our work in the toolkits and obviously our previous experience in implementing digital financial pilots and rollout. Two challenges that are common and that are complex to solve. The first one is building partnerships, and the second one is managing liquidity, managing float and cash. So I'd like to start with you, Kwaku. You are implementing Model 1. You're using a POS device to collect savings in the field. To you, what are the challenges that you're encountering in the area of partnership?
When the institution decides to use the mobile as a tool, or to use mobile devices to mobilize savings, partnerships usually does not tend to be a major issue, as you might find in the other tools, as my friends will be discussing very soon. The reason basically is that what the institution actually is doing is you have recruited your own agents who are going out there to go and mobilize in your stead, and in that essence you would probably not need any other agency or any other institution to actually partner with you. Especially in our case, we didn't need any key partnerships at all. But where you would need some kind of support from other institutions will be in the area of the SIM card, or probably the how you get connectivity to your device. For instance, in our case, we used POSs with SIM cards from different telcos. The reason being that we actually operate in very rural areas, and sometimes you might go to a certain rural area where one particular telco is not having network coverage. So we decided to go with a POS which has dual connectivity, so that we could use different SIM cards to connect and help our mobile bankers be efficient on the field. So basically, for a mobile as a device, you might not encounter too much of an issue with partnerships, but you need to get it right with which network is best in the area that you're operating.
Okay. Thank you, Kwaku. Okay, Thomas, could you briefly tell us what the challenges you are encountering in the area of partnership?
Thank you very much. I'm from Trust Saving Credit Union. One of the main challenge we have in the area of partnership, as we all know, there are so many GSM companies in Liberia, and we are partnering with Lone Star Cell MTN in the service of mobile money. In the inception 2014, we had a negotiation for us to have the service at our end, and we caused some of the difficulties. It was a new innovation to staff, especially in handling the forms, because in our model we deal with a mobile form that we use to be able to carry on transaction, or call emergency form. It was very difficult. Enough training was not done. So as a result, the operator or teller sent money to the wrong direction and was giving us very difficulties. But we resolved it by asking them to afford us and access to the to statements, and we're able to resolve that. So, but as we go on, some of the challenges. The second one we had is that
let's first summarize the first challenge. So one of the challenges that you encountered was that the MNO had not trained your staff properly, and so they made mistakes and lost money as a consequence.
Yeah, those are some of the challenges we had.
Okay, what was your second challenge?
Okay, the second one was when it comes to information dissemination from the network operator. They took decision on their own forgetting to know that we signed a tripartite agreement, like in the case where the bank was involved. So when they got the bank out of the system, they did not inform us, but rather they took the commission onto themselves. They balanced 20%. So we saw it as a challenge within.
Yeah, so in the beginning you had a tripartite agreement that involved a bank and a mobile network operator.
Yeah,
but the mobile network operator at some point removed the bank in order not to have share the commission between three parties. But that created practical problems for you.
Yeah. So those are some of the major challenges we had as a network operator.
And I think we'll go into those problems when we talk about liquidity, because those challenges were mostly in the area of liquidity, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to pass now to Stephen. Ask you, what are the challenges that you are facing in the area, have been facing in the area of partnership?
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. The first challenge is actually consummating the partnership. You asked a lot of documents, literally, to prove yourself that you have the critical mass and you can be able to be a worthy partner. That's what I think. And when you do that, you have to be very persistent and patient with them, because sometimes you're dealing with very junior officers who are asking you all manner of questions. The second challenges we get when you're dealing with the partnership is quality of service. Once you have signed up, you have no control of quality of service. Many a times you just get your customers, your agents, any other calling you, we are down, you're not able to do anything. These are the challenges we're having. And even call them and say, oh, there was a problem. We don't know. You're left. And what's enough if the customer calls, that's the time they are told, the challenges is your bank, not us. Us, we are okay. So when you're dealing with the partnership, you need to be very patient with them. Literally work with them, encourage them to see your business model so that they don't fail you, because they can seriously fail you and you have no recourse.
Can you tell us the story of what happened with the launch of that one new product that you had?
We had a very interesting scenario where we had invited all the way to the head of state to launch our mobile platform called Easy 247. Everything was right. We were in the podium just to press *247# and do transaction, because we wanted to see how is it to connect, to do banking, to do bill payments, all that, so that, you know, we were just saying your bank in your hand, bank yangu mkononi.
Yeah, you were doing a demonstration actually.
We were doing a demonstration like the way we are starting here, and that somebody just switches off that USSD. It switched off.
Somebody.
And the whole screen like this one is blank. And we believe one of the partners was the big chap was in the same forum and very happy, because from there now your product is dead. You have to do a lot of PR, you have to do a lot of advertisement to tell people that was a small thing. We are up and running.
Yeah.
So when they see you as a competitor, as if you want to take on their market, they can do a lot of things. A lot of things to frustrate you. Yeah, literally on your face.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Another example that you told me is that sometimes the mobile network operator does an upgrade an upgrade, makes changes to its system, but doesn't inform the bank. But suddenly, from one moment to the other, you're Ronald. I'd like to give you the final word on this particular challenge, because Marcus, I'm going to drill you on liquidity. What challenge on partnership have you encountered?
Just like my colleague has said, this execution tends to take a longer time. I'll give you an example. We've had an issue with Airtel in Uganda to complete the final leg of our Airtel money, to make it possible for customers to push money from their wallets to the bank.
Because they can already pull, right?
They can pull, but they cannot.
But they can't push. Okay.
It has taken over 2 years, and basically that could have been an issue of the takeover, where Airtel took over Worried. Those were management issues. So such issues will extend to even the people who are supposed to acquire a service. That's one of the challenges. The other would be, like my colleague has said, people in telecos, especially in Uganda, the junior officers tend to not be knowing what they're working on or what they are doing. Another example I want to give you, we wanted to upgrade from being an agent of an MNO to becoming a super agent, because we are incurring a number, quite bigger charges. But before I joined the institution, that discussion had taken over 2.5 years. So when I joined the institution, because I'd previously worked on a merchant payment system, similar to what we have in Kenya called Lipa na M-Pesa. So we are doing a replica in Uganda called Pay Easy with Diamond Trust Bank, because I knew who can do what in MTN and who can slow it. And I knew every sort of communication. If you sent certain communications to some officer at MTN or Airtel, they would not respond, basically because they don't understand what you're talking about. So I knew where to go. So shortly after joining Ugaford, I knew the routes to take. I went and met the senior mobile money operations manager, and we had that status upgraded within 2 months. So now Ugaford no longer suffers the charges, but otherwise the charges were too much. That is the other challenge.
So what I'm hearing also is that there's a lot of mutual education to be done, right? I mean, the MNOs need to train your staff well when you are an agent, but you also need to inform a lot of different staff at MNOs so that they fully understand what this partnership is. It's complex. Okay, thank you. So I'd like to continue to talk about liquidity challenges. And I'm going to start again with Kwaku. When you do Model 1, what are the challenges that you encounter in managing liquidity?
Okay.
In your case, and there's many ways of doing Model 1 actually.
Yes. So again, liquidity, when you've only rolled out mobile as a service, doesn't have the major issues, but especially in cases where you've only decided to just mobilize savings, especially for us, we started with just deposit mobilization and not save withdrawals. So you kind of determine, or you're able to cope with the risk that you are faced with, because the main issues now has to do with how you manage the agents you've recruited in and how they go out there to bring in the deposits.
Your agents are your staff, right?
Sure.
Yeah, you call them agents, but in fact they're staff.
Sure, sure. But when you move further to decide to allow in withdrawals, that is withdrawals on the field, then the risks begin to mount up. What happens then is that you now have to decide how much a particular staff, or we call them mobile bankers, should go out with at the expense of your own branch operations. Again, you also know that once this person is tagged as a mobile banker walking about in markets and in busy centers, there is a great risk of theft, and her security is a big issue that you have to look at. So you quickly have to find a means to mitigate such risks. For our case, we decided to put a limit on how much a mobile banker can actually carry, and the amount at which she has to come back to the branch office to come and offload whatever amount she has on her. And again, we also had to put on a limit on how much an individual client can actually give to a mobile banker in a day, all in effect to reduce how liquid a mobile banker will be while she's on the field, protecting her against the theft and or the fraud issues that could come up, and again protecting the bank from having serious liquidity challenges. Another issue with withdrawals that we had to deal with was that we decided to lag the withdrawals on the field by 1 day, that is 24 hours. Once we do that, what we are able to do as a bank is that we now know how we could probably do some due diligence, especially to make sure that yes, so and so client is requesting for so and so amount of money.
To avoid fraud. Huh?
Sure, and avoid the fraud that comes with it.
Yeah, and we had an interesting discussion last night also. Isn't that something that puts clients off, that they have to wait 24 hours to withdraw? And then we compared with the traditional SUSU system, where actually usually people put in money all the time regularly, and they also withdraw at a fixed time that's planned. And that's not very regular either, and they have to wait to withdraw. So it's actually an improvement on the existing SUSU system, even though maybe having a bank account and being able to go to a branch to withdraw is even more attractive, but then it's not nearby.
Yes, that's true. So the traditional SUSU system, actually, you would have somebody contributing a certain amount over a month, and the person gets to get his money back probably at the end of the month from the SUSU collector, minus 1 day of savings. So that takes a longer period, a month, to do that. But our situation is that you have to wait for just 24 hours. So we believe that it's much more of an improved way of serving the client on the field. Yeah. And of course, they are quite happy about that.
Okay, thanks, Kwaku. So Marcus, you're starting to get bored by now because I haven't asked you a question yet. So you have built your own agent network. Now, right. Obviously, yes, liquidity is a big issue for you. Can you tell us about it? And also how you've dealt with the challenges?
Okay, thank you so much. Maybe a bit of context for Malawi. Malawi is one of the low-income countries in this market, in this continent. Now, what happens is as you're getting more into the rural areas, to get partners as agents, normally these are the people who are running local businesses, to partner with you and provide the services proves to be a challenge. In the area of liquidity, the challenge is for them to raise enough capital to actually run the agents. So what happens is, because they've got low capacity to raise capital, they have to make more frequent visits to the bank to do rebalancing. And some of these rural communities where there are economic activities, they are a bit of a distance. And these people are running a business, and sometimes they don't have assistance to help them. So they make a choice of not going to do rebalancing. In the process, they are denying customers services. So one of the things we have done, we've done 4 things. We have done an integration with an MNO. We also focusing on recruiting on some of the corporates that have presence in these communities. We have revised our commission structure, and also we're trying as much as possible in some of the communities where there is more economic activity to try and recruit more agents, so that at least the services could be available. With the MNO, it's proving to be pretty well, because then the same agent who is running our agency is also running the service of an MNO, and so we've integrated our platforms. The core banking system is linked to the wallet, so agents are able to move money within, so they can increase their float, or they can actually use.
Or they can go to other mobile money agents, exactly. Right, to increase their float or their cash.
Correct.